Internet! Hello, you lovelies! We have a brand new Star Wars show. Let's discuss the Skeleton Crew, episodes 1 and 2. Now, if you're new to this page, I do comic book news and reviews, the actual books themselves. I love comic books, but I really love all forms of genre content, and Star Wars definitely applies. So this page also covers movie news and reviews, as well as TV news and reviews, but mainly centered around the genre space. So if you're a fan of fandoms, if you're a fan of comic books, you're a fan of this genre content, please do hit that subscription bell. Also, if you're excited to see this go on, if you want to see me talk about this show more, hit a like so I know you liked this video, and most of all, let's have a conversation in the comments below. My favorite part about the internet is that it's a giant community. That's sometimes bad, that's sometimes good, but what it does is it allows people to come together over stuff they love. So let's have an actual conversation about this very show. Let's discuss the Skeleton Crew in the comments below. Without further ado, I hate long introductions. The Skeleton Crew, episodes 1 and 2. Now, I am a Star Wars fan from a very young age. My little brother's name is Lucas. I was born into a Star Wars family, but not like diehard, as much as my brother being named Lucas is pretty diehard. We weren't like deep myth into reading the novelizations. I've read some of the comic books. I don't know the extended mythos, but I love the original trilogy. I like a fair amount of things within the sequel trilogy. The prequel trilogy, pieces, depends. It's hit or miss for me. So the core of it to me is the OG trilogy. And to me, the Skeleton Crew looks to be mirroring that more than the politically heavy prequels or the kind of reusing a lot of nostalgia and elements of remaking the OG trilogy sequels. To me, this feels like what George Lucas made when he wanted to make Star Wars was something that was all ages and something that was this incredible epic fantasy tale. Now, he often talks about how this was for kids. He often talks about how this was something he made for that world in mind, and when people don't love the new elements, it's because they watched the original trilogy when they were kids. They're not kids anymore. The stuff that's coming out that's new isn't their childhood take. To me, this show that is show run, it seems like, or at least the first episode directed by John Watts. I know John Watts had a huge say in this show. I'm not sure what that title would be, but directed the first episode and then oversaw a lot of the show. John Watts is responsible for the Spider-Man Homecoming, No Way Home, Far From Home trilogy. He's responsible for Wolves on Apple Plus. He is a director with a love of fandom that's clearly showing in the show, but it feels like he took that message of this is aimed at kids and really exponentially made that the through line of where we are and what this is. And I think that hits and misses in the first episode in equal measure. In the second episode, I understand more what I feel like we're meant to be feeling and building to and growing. The second episode worked for me a lot better than the first episode, but let's talk about the first first. The first episode does an incredible job of world building. I love that this feels like a fully fleshed out universe in a galaxy far away. Much like Andor, my favorite modern Star Wars thing, I will lose half of you, maybe more, but I really think that Andor and The Last Jedi are the two things that to me feel like have so much integrity and pathos and vision of what Star Wars is. Rogue One, I'm going to put with Andor. Like, Rogue One and Andor are a package. And then to me, Last Jedi has a lot to say about war, about the animosity of what you'd be going through in a galactic war, about wealth inequality, about the Empire versus this rogue incursion, this rebellion that's coming from these people, this ragtag group trying to fight this overwhelming odds of the Empire, this giant utilitarian force. I feel like certain Star Wars really capture that feeling, which is how I see Star Wars. I see 90% of genre content as a Trojan horse of morality, of ethics, of how you perceive your world today, but in a more palatable, spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, experience of this beautiful, wonderful sci-fi world. When Star Wars is hitting right, the universe is integral, because you need to feel like this is a lived-in universe. It needs to feel like a place you could never visit, but you'd love to visit, depending on which planetary system. But it needs to feel lived in. Part of what I had a struggle with The Acolyte was I understood that the Jedi were new, and it was a long time ago in this galaxy far away. But everything about the robes and the world and even the background and the actors, everything felt not lived in. It felt new, it felt fresh, it felt like they went shopping at the Disney store. It did not feel like a world, it felt like a set. This has some elements of that, but overall, 80-20, like 80%, it really feels lived in. I feel like I know the rules of this world. I feel like the planet they're on is actually something that is operating when the show goes off. I feel like there is an element of living there. I like that there's, through exposition and dialogue, elements that feel like it's been planned to set up a universe because it's already in motion, not for plot purposes. Like, when you have a world where you have to take this test and find out where you're going to go, not only does that feel like, well, that's the way this world works, but it also feels like a great commentary on your guidance and your destiny is not fated. And I love that commentary so early on, especially with a show about kids. I love that this planet feels like you've got a certain path you've got to take. I love this kind of like, caste system of hierarchy, like these droids that are making sure things go well. And then we get a cool reveal in episode 2 about that very fleshed out world that I really dig. But overall, that first episode, that was what worked for me. I liked that everything was shiny, but not lived in. It felt very rich. It felt taken, everything was on its feet, but it didn't feel so new that it felt like a set. And I really liked that everyone felt like they were working and going to school and they had these processes, and it almost felt droid-like. Like, the droids are overseeing this police state, this structured world you have to live in. Like, little subtle things like, the woman that has the fancy job, not letting him be looking at his computer. Now, that's also a school trope. That's also tying into the young, but it also feels like in this world, the dad always has to be at work. The kids always have to be doing a certain thing. The girl that races bikes, she's rebellious, even though she's top of her class. Structure and rule and order, all of that really worked for me. What didn't work for me was I felt like we needed to like the kids by default, and I didn't. I feel like I needed time to get to know these kids. I didn't have anything that was making me root for them immediately. And the story kind of made it feel like, yeah, these kids are great. Okay, we're moving on. And I didn't have any of those moments where you're like, man, I get which one of these kids would be me in the group. I felt that realness of group. I felt that realness of this is what it was like to be a kid that was riding bikes and going on adventures and digging up stuff in the woods. I felt all of that. But I didn't feel that I know that kid. I know that kid. I've been that kid. I made that choice. Other than the broad strokes of being a kid riding bikes in the woods. I love that they made the 80s Amblin, energy, transformed that into speeder bike and into the woods going to look for a Jedi temple. I love the plug and play there, but I needed a little bit more of the clear Goonies energy they're going for. I needed to know Data. Like, I feel like everyone had a really nerdy friend that we could identify with that Goonie. I feel like everyone had that jock older brother that we could identify with Josh Brolin's character. I feel like there needed to be a little bit more of that specificity of who these kids were. Now, I'm also grown-ass man. I don't know what kids are like today. Maybe kids watching this are like, yeah, that's me in that moment, and that's who this is made for. This is made for kids that are watching Disney Plus going, man, I feel so seen in this galaxy far, far away, like people did back in the day. This is a new generation Star Wars. This is a young Star Wars. So the flaws I had with episode 1 might be unique to me. Might be me having trouble with not feeling like I'm connecting with the idea of when I was that age, or with I've met that kid, I know what their next move is going to be. But that first episode built a world enough that I gave it like a C. It definitely was enjoyable. I definitely wish I had any sort of connectivity or understanding or empathy for the kids other than what I felt like I was being told versus what I felt. I wanted to feel like I knew these people even though they were over there versus being told that I should care about these people even though they're way over there. And that's a hard line, and that's the difficulty of sci-fi or any genre content, is that connectivity. So first episode, right that average mark, like a C in the school system. In that school system, it'd probably be failing because it seems like you gotta be perfect. But passable, a decent, pilot. I wanted to keep going. I immediately really loved the music, but it didn't build to where the second episode got with the music. I immediately really loved some of the sound design being like remixed and felt like Star Wars, but different and modernized. I liked a more polished world. I also liked that we weren't in fucking Tatooine or Hoth. I liked that it felt new, but familiar. Second episode is where I really got involved in this show. I love the escalation of pirate lore. As soon as we meet that droid, I'm like, oh, it's a pirate show. Obviously, the show is called Skeleton Crew, but the first episode wasn't a pirate show yet. They just got the ship. It was the journey of the Goonies mission of getting the ship. Even I found a skeleton reference, like very, very strong love letter to Goonies in the show. Second episode, I felt like we were actually on a pirate ship. The music felt like a ride at Disney. It felt like old pirate lore. It felt like a swashbuckling good time. Again, that droid, absolute highlight for me. I like that we go to a land of scum and villainy, pirate edition. We go to this bar that's on this pirate planet. I like that we're rekindling some of the pirates we met from the first episode that we assumed were gone. I like a lot of the world building feeling bigger, bolder. The animals in the first felt, some of it worked. Some of it I noticed, like in the very opening of the show where we meet, that lead pirate, he swings and punches at one of the recognizable species in Star Wars. The guy with like kind of the cow face and ears, and eyes that are off his face. And they cut right before they punch because clearly they couldn't afford to have the makeup and the prosthetics messed up. But elements like that make these characters feel not lived in and not real, versus in the second episode, the normalcy of the bartender and the way he moved and certain dynamics felt like the difference between the good Muppet creatures in Return of the Jedi versus the ones that they just pillaged, the werewolf suit from another movie. There's a line between what works and what doesn't. The second episode worked for me more in character design and immersion. The music, again, was really an element for me. The world, I loved the idea, the twist of their planet being like a land of riches because it felt so polished and nice. I love that they're in this isolated place that's doing well while the whole star, the whole galaxy set is impoverished because of the Empire. I love that they're this isolated, mysterious place, untouched by it, and / maybe where the Empire is pulling people from. Maybe the Empire is taking cadets from there. It seems like the Empire is present, but how is it able to be independent and not as run down as the galaxy we've seen in Star Wars? I love that element. By the way, one of my favorite parts of the first episode was the, oh my god, the stars, and then how it would feel to hit light speed. That was beautiful. Really dug that kid moment. The last beats of episode 1 feel like episode 2, and episode 2 for me was a solid B. It really made me care about these kids more. It made me understand their different personalities. It gave me a little bit more dialogue that felt like it was more for them than exposition. It gave me a world versus a set. And overall, it hit more, and I loved saving Jude Law for the end as the last button. I like that he is, a Jedi, but he's cloaked in darkness for a minute, giving you like, is he good guy, is he bad guy feel. Hopefully it's not a very obvious twist that we're supposed to believe. We don't know what's going on, and there's a twist like a certain other Disney property. But I think they're going to treat us with some respect. Even though it is a younger skewing show, I do feel like we're going to get to play with the nuance and the gray of what it is to be a Jedi, if he's a Jedi at all. I like that we assume he's a Jedi, the implication with the Force, the skeleton key and the skeleton crew, all of that really works for me. Second up, solid B. I really thought it improved quite a bit. It's still not, I'm an Andor guy, very different type show, but this is aimed at kids. This is aimed young. This is the Goonies for them. It's Amblin in the 80s. It's skewing very young. It's a Disney Channel show, Star Wars. I hope kids give it an A. I hope kids are loving it. This is me trying to imagine if I was 9, 10, 11, 12 watching the show, trying to give it that benefit of the doubt of not knowing what it'd be like to discover Star Wars in this generation and thinking that this would be really enjoyable. So no major flaws in the second episode, just still need to get to know the cast a bit more to feel connected to them in a way that is making me like fully enraptured. So far, very, casually enjoying it, especially the improvement between episode 1 and 2. I'm glad it came out as a pair. I'm curious what you guys think. Star Wars is always a tricky thing because me not liking The Acolyte made a lot of people mad, and it sucked because I was just trying to be honest, and I'm hoping that me being kind of like, well, we'll see about the skeleton crew is what is acceptable for a very loud fandom. That is my experience. A C for the first episode, a B minus for the second episode. A definite improvement, still not, the A that is Andor to me, or, I'd put it a little below Solo. Solo to me was like a B, and this feels like a B minus. So Solo has that fun swashbuckling, but you felt, the two different movies kind of trying to come together, but it had the energy of something with potential. This has the energy of something with potential, especially as we get to know this world. So far, I'm intrigued, if not yet invested, and I hope that that comes across with my way of navigating only 2 episodes of a season, and I would love to hear what you think in the comments below. Did you like the escalation of piratehood? Do you like these characters? Is there something I'm missing? Is this some deep lore that I didn't know about, so I'm just missing a lot of obvious? Is it working for you? Let's have a conversation. Let me know in the comments below. Please leave a like in this video so I know what you thought of this experience. Do you like this shiny, polished new world? Do you prefer all Star Wars gritty? Do you think there's going to be an Empire-based reason for this planet to be tucked away and hidden? That is my current theory. Let me know in the comments below. And again, leave a like. And if you haven't already, hit that subscription bell. We are rapidly approaching 40,000 subscribers. We're at like 37.8. We're at like 38,000 of you. I appreciate each and every one of you. It's insane. I get to grow my own page. I've been at a lot of channels forever. You might know me from Real Rejects or back in the day at Screen Junkies or back in the day at Collider, but growing my own page means so much to me. So thank you to each and every one of you that is here. This week is a huge week because the DCU kicks off. So I'll be talking all about Creature Commandos every single week. Tune in right here for episodes 1 and 2 on Thursday. Also, a big ol' announcement this week for me personally. So I'll be talking about that throughout this page, throughout this week, all over the place. And then again on Sunday, we've got Dune Prophecy episode 4. And in between all that, an episode of This Week in Comics. So lots on this page this week. Stay tuned. And maybe some favorite stuff. We're approaching the end of the year, so I'm going to be eventually doing favorite TV, favorite music, favorite movies. All that stuff is coming in the next 4 weeks. So subscription bell, lots of stuff to come. Hope you've enjoyed this show. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And if you're still here this deep in the video, I have a new light. I don't even have it set up yet, but I'm playing around with the angle and stuff, so I apologize as I get this perfected, but we are evolving and growing this page. Much love. I'll see you guys soon. Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a subscribe, leave things as I leave. Much love.